Hey everyone, Larry here from the Retro Gamers Podcast, and yeah, I made a boo-boo. Apparently I forgot to hit the record button for the first part of the podcast. I would say maybe no more than 10 minutes. If you want to see the whole podcast in its entirety, of course, you can head over to our YouTube page. I caught it and ran with it from there. So that's why we just kind of pick up in the middle and enjoy this week's episode. And may the 4th be with you. Beware of the attack of the 5th. And of course, the revenge of the 6th.
It just makes sense to oversee it in order to protect things, because it's kind of like if you turned Star Wars into like the X-Men movie universe, where if you look at all of the X-Men movies, there are so many continuity errors when you put them all together that they don't make sense as an overall story.
It's true. Didn't Days of Future Past fix that?
Well, Days of Future Past was supposed to fix that, but it technically didn't fix all of it. Because while it was fixing it, it chose to ignore certain things at the same time. So it's the same thing. I mean, also if here's another perfect example. If you look at the last X-Men movie, which was Dark Phoenix, which took place in the 90s, like the early 90s,
okay,
and then the first original X-Men movie came out in 2000. Ewan McGregor and Michael Fassbender turn into Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart in about 9 years.
Well, yeah, they're mutants.
So figure that
out. Liberties.
Really, really fast. Liberties. But no. But that's what I mean. In other words, like,
yeah.
George Lucas didn't want something like that to happen, so he made sure to oversee anybody who licensed the property. He wanted to make sure that everything was on the up and up.
Absolutely. So hopefully Disney's doing that today.
Doubtful.
So let's get into it now. So forgive us in advance if we don't know something in the Star Wars lore, or if we get something wrong in the Star Wars lore.
Yeah. Please don't send us a lot of hate mail. We're not. We would have loved to have gotten a Star Wars expert on the show, but
he was sound asleep when we messaged him.
Yeah, he's sleeping. But an expert that also knows all the video games was a little tough to
find. And I'd like to, I guess, make a correction from maybe last week or the week prior. So I was called out. Kid Icarus is on the NES Mini. So
okay.
There we go.
I didn't know we were doing retractions.
I just wanted to throw that one out. Go check out the Unfun Gamer on Instagram with underscores underneath those words. So in any event, so let's get into it. On Super Nintendo, Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, Super Return of the Jedi, it's safe to say neither one of us had these originally.
No, I did not own any of these.
Okay. So how I actually came about it was years ago when the Wii came out and the Wii Virtual Console, which was an amazing idea. It was like the first virtual console ever. The idea to be able to download these games, all right, for a price, but they were inexpensive, was mind-blowing. Because now I'm like, I can get back a lot of like the NES and Super NES games that at the time it was still borderline retro, where like you really didn't have the old systems hooked up yet. And then at the same time, there were a lot of new games that I can buy that I've never gotten before. And I was actually shocked to see Super Star Wars originally, because with a license like Star Wars, I just didn't think they'd be able to get it. But at the same time, then I thought to myself, Star Wars is one thing, but LucasArts is a gaming company. So it would kind of make sense that, they would do this. It would, allow the re-release. And basically that's what happened. I picked up Super Star Wars, and then as time went on, actually I ended up picking up the other two. And I really didn't play them much, but in honor of this episode, I did play them recently. So I do have some experience with the gameplay.
Okay. As do I. I did play them each briefly.
Oh, okay. All right. So you got your hands on them as well.
I gave each one of them a shot because, to your point, I believe Super Star Wars was available on the PlayStation 4.
Yes, you can actually. I think it's on PS4 and Xbox One, I believe. Definitely on the PS4. So you can you can purchase Super Star Wars, just that one of the three, if you want to play.
I'm curious as to why they only released the one.
Probably just rights, and that was the only one they probably just figured to release.
Yeah.
Also, remember, they had to convert it a little bit because now there's like a save option. They had to convert the things.
Right.
They probably just didn't want to go into bothering with the other two.
Very true. But, considering the fact that they released it, I'm just looking it up online right now.
Yeah, sure.
Just the information. It was released in November of 2015, so we're talking over 4 years ago.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it was like within the last year.
No, that's why I'm curious as to why the other two didn't wind up there by now,
Yeah. That is... Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so I did give each of them a shot, and I thought, I'll let you go into detail since you played a bit more than I did.
Yeah, so admittedly, with the 3, there is a bit of a decline in gameplay as the movies go on.
Yes,
kind of reflection of the movies in some people's opinions. Oh, and right there, we're starting to get we're gonna get some.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
Super Star Wars, first and foremost, I think was a phenomenal game. The gameplay was very smooth. The gameplay was easy to pick up. Mm-hmm. It does have a difficulty to it, even on regular mode. Not beginner mode, regular mode. And, it does take some getting used to, though, because the controls over all 3 games are a little weird. I don't know if you noticed that when you were playing.
Yeah, I did. With Star Wars, with Super Star Wars, I noticed with the you have with the lightsaber, you have the choice between the lightsaber and your
the blaster.
The blaster. Thank you. I was going to say phaser. That's not right.
Oh, don't even go there.
No. See, I'm about to cause a whole lot of trouble.
So as you're playing as Kirk.
Yeah, so while I was running through the first level with my pointed ears, and, no, but you have a choice between the blaster and the lightsaber, and I noticed when you use the lightsaber, you make contact with the enemy, and it doesn't look like it does anything, even though it causes damage.
Yeah, it's that's always been an issue in the Star Wars video games. It's always been an issue because in reality, if you hit something with that lightsaber, it should die instantaneously.
That is correct.
So why it takes multiple hits for so many things? Not sure. But anyway.
Well, it's called difficulty.
This is true.
If you killed everything with one shot, it wouldn't be much of a game.
This is true. Again, very true. So, so that's one thing, kind of getting a hold of the game. I felt what was very weird of all 3 games was I like the fact that you can almost shoot in any direction with the blast.
Yes,
that's good.
Cool.
But if you wanted to kneel and to shoot down, I kept getting screwed up because if you want to kneel and shoot straight, you had to you had to kneel first, then shoot.
Yes.
But if you want to shoot on a diagonal down, you have to shoot, then hit down.
Or you do the diagonal press.
No, but
press right and down at the same time.
But still, there's still a difference in controller input to do those different moves. So I kept getting myself mixed up on that.
They're 2 different things, Larry.
No, but it should be fairly easy to either crouch and shoot or shoot down, and you can't do both.
Okay.
So that in itself, and trust me, and the controls have been one of the issues in the game. Mm-hmm. That's always been complained about. The cinematics, first of all, in these games are fantastic.
Absolutely. I guess especially for the 16-bit era, yes. I have to say that's phenomenal.
Yeah. The music, spot on. You can tell it's Star Wars music, even on 16-bit.
Yep. They got John Williams' score in there. Mm-hmm. I got to say, even in the opening, it's the opening of the movie. You got the big logo blazing, and then you got the story coming up.
You got the crawl.
They did a great job with all of that.
That was phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. And it plays, and to the credit, it does. For the most part, they play like the movie. So you're getting the story. You're playing the story with some adjustments to make it a video game. Like, for example, in the first, in Super Star Wars, you, instead of buying C-3PO and R2-D2, you have to rescue them from the Jawas.
Yes.
And, the Jawas never really caused issues. I think they stole stuff and they were riding that big sand crawler. But for the most part, you never really want to kill them. In this game, you got to mow them all down. So in the first game,
a little artistic freedom. You got to have some type. It would be a shame if Luke is just running through the desert and then runs into the Jawas and says, "Hey, give me those."
Yeah, basically. It was hysterical as I'm like just going through Jawas, just blasting them all away. Very difficult when you get to the Sandcrawler, and this is all the first level. When you get to the Sandcrawler, but before you get to the Sandcrawler, this is what I like about all three games is at one point it goes from a side scroller to kind of like a first person, like in a land speeder or whatever they're called. Mm-hmm. And the graphics are done beautifully. The controls are done wonderfully, in those modes. And, it made you feel like you were in the game, and it made you feel like you were in the movie. And I think that's what a video game based on a movie should ultimately do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely has the feel. You do feel that sense of being in a Star Wars movie. On top of that, later on in Super Star Wars, when you actually get to fly the X-wing, mm-hmm. It's got that similar sense of it. Now, I wasn't big on those style of games. Growing up, well, at least not on Super Nintendo. It fell more along the lines when I hit N64 and I played Star Fox for the first time, mm-hmm. where I really liked those space, the space battle, like third person perspective kind of games, which were cool. But yeah, the fact that they were able to achieve that on the N64, it kind of not on the N64, on the Super Nintendo, mm-hmm. Is really cool because obviously it's so fitting for a Star Wars game because there's so much space battle.
Totally. Did you find did you find yourself removed a little bit with some of the enemies in the game for Super Star Wars, at least? Because I'm like, I don't remember half these characters or half these enemies in the movie. Like those weird green aliens and then the scorpions.
The scorpion. Yeah, I guess, that's obviously taking a little again, mm-hmm. artistic freedom, but at the same time you kind of have to fill.
Of course.
Yeah, you got to fill it up with things to fight. I mean, I don't remember any giant scorpions in the Star Wars movies. So,
neither do I, which is going to lead to something interesting with the Famicom version, but.
Yeah, exactly. So I was perfectly fine with stuff like that. It's like when you play any video game off of a licensed property, they throw some stuff in there for you to battle.
Oh, absolutely.
And for this one, I like the fact that everything that you did battle in there were alien-like creatures because obviously in the Star Wars movie franchises, it's just all these weird alien creatures. So to me, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, no, ultimately it didn't bother me. I found it funny taking on the Sarlacc pit monster at the end of the first level.
I thought that was weird. Yeah. As soon as I ran into it, I said, "Wait, I actually know this one, and I don't think it belongs here."
I remember this being a lot larger and not as easy, probably, to defeat. In theory,
not only that, I don't. Am I wrong in saying that was in Return of the Jedi?
Well, I think it was more prominent in Return of the Jedi. Because that's where they were basically saved. But I think he made an appearance in the first one. So.
Oh, okay. That's where it lost me because I don't remember. This is my own.
Me too.
My lack of knowledge of the Star Wars films or remembering. I just remember the Sarlacc pit in the beginning of Return of the Jedi when Han Solo was going to mm-hmm. get fed into it. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. But back to the gameplay again. It was very smooth. Later on in the game, you were able to select other characters, play as other characters. You start off as Luke Skywalker. But then when we jump to Empire, Empire, which is usually noted as the best Star Wars of all of them, all the movies.
Yes.
It's a good one. Luke gets his hand cut off, finds out Vader's his father. It ends on a downer. All Jedi had was a bunch of Muppets.
It's true. Yeah. You don't want to go into battle with just Muppets.
No, not at all. And for anyone else who got that quote, you got 2 points for you. Clerks. Going into Empire, and trust me, I didn't get far in any of these games. I'm going to admit. It was more kind of, I was playing them. I just want to get a feel of them for this episode. I think I will go back to try and really focus more on them. But for now, it was just kind of get some gameplay feel.
Yeah. How about that Tauntaun?
Yeah, I was just about to mention that. I hated the Tauntaun level. Level. It was the first level.
Yeah, it's the first level, and I'm like, oh, can you die? And then I realized, like, I can drown him, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, basically. It was cool to get onto the Tauntaun, and again, it goes with the flow of the movie. You get the droid that crash lands onto Hoth, and then Luke finds the Tauntaun, hops on the Tauntaun, and then I promptly kill the Tauntaun quickly. Not really used to how it's played. The difficulty felt ramped up. The difficulty felt like a Mega Man level difficulty in Empire.
Yes, it definitely was, because when it got to the moving, like, I don't know how far underground you got. You get underground, and then like there's water and the moving platforms. Those moving platforms didn't seem to sync up very well for me.
No. I think I just barely got to that part of the level. I think the furthest I got in any of the 3 games was Super Star Wars, which annoyed me because then in Super Star Wars I got to the laser barriers. Yeah, it took me like 20 minutes to finish. I didn't even know I could slide in the game until that point. So, very weird. But Empire, the difficulty I felt was revved up. I get to Jedi though, and I'm like, I think I'm done. I think I'm done playing. And nice. Jedi, you were able to select 3 different characters right off the bat: Luke, Chewie, or Leia.
Okay.
So, or it could have been Han, Chewie, and Leia. I'm trying to remember exactly, but I think it was Luke, Chewie, and Leia at first.
No. For Return of the Jedi, Luke, Chewie, and Leia, because Han, again, storyline.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Han was Carbonite. Yeah, that's right.
Carbonite. Yep.
So, I love you. I know that was ad-libbed. So, I get to Return of the Jedi, and I'm like, all right, now they're just putting this together for the sake of putting this together. Because Super Star Wars and Super Return of the Jedi, Super Star Wars and Super Empire were 2 years apart, but Super Empire and Super Jedi were the same year. So it's like now they're just shoving them out.
Yeah, I think that first level, literally that first level on Return of the Jedi, made me turn it off.
No, it really did. It was so annoying, difficult.
I hated it.
I wasn't crazy about it. Later I found out I prefer, because I tried Chewie first, but I preferred you use Leia. I think she was better for the level. But it was just very annoying.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was.
You would think Chewie would be better for the level because he can fly.
You would have thought. Well, Chewie can't. He's not Superman.
Damn Wookiee.
But of course, Jedi opens though with that. Oh, I know what you're talking about, because it does open with the land speeder,
like the land speeder, and you got to jump over. Yeah, it's like, I want to know what planet that is, where there are so many fissures.
I see. This is how bad I didn't like Jedi. I completely forgot about that. I went straight to the side-scrolling level. That's what I meant, where you can select 3 characters.
Okay.
That's right. I fell into a pit all 3 of my lives before I realized I could even jump in that stupid thing, or that they were pits.
Yeah, see, that I chose Luke naturally, and that was the level, and I'm like, oh, is this what I have to do at first? No thanks. I didn't even bother trying Chewie or like.
So, but now getting the feel of the games, I definitely am going to go back to play them more recreationally, as opposed to just trying to get a feel for them to talk about them.
Of course.
And to the point of Super Star Wars and Super Empire, as were a lot of Super NES games at that time, they were just basically an upgraded port of the NES versions of Star Wars and Empire. There was supposed to be a Jedi, which they, on NES, which they canceled because they're like, you know what? We're just going to go straight to Super Nintendo with this.
Yeah, exactly. So, which means they had plenty of time to make a really good Return of the Jedi. So I'm hoping, to your point, playing through Super Return of the Jedi, the other ones, will be good. And you are going to show off.
Yes. So I showed these before. I will show them again for Star Wars episode. These are some company, I don't remember who they are, but through Lucasfilms and Disney were able to put out these wonderful reprints of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back on
limited run games.
Somebody on these beautiful NES cartridges. These are wonderful, wonderful cartridges.
Yes, they are.
And of course, there are the Game Boy equivalents as well.
Yes.
And I have...
And by the way, I did play all of these on I played the NES versions and I played the Game Boy versions also before this episode to try them out.
I have... Actually, I ended up buying on Game Boy Star Wars and Empire, like the regular versions, because I want to keep these in the blister packs.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So I did play those on Game Boy. Yeah, funny. Again, they're ports. They're basically all of these games are basically ports of the NES games.
Yep.
So definitely, if you can, try them out. Buy Super Star Wars if you want on the PS4. I think it's on sale currently.
It is $3.99.
That's not bad at all. And is that the sale price?
No, I think that was
regular. Okay.
Regular.
And seeing how by the time this episode drops, because of May the 4th be with you, there may be a Star Wars sale, so you may be able to get it a little cheaper.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? I mean, they do these sales all the damn time.
Yeah.
So there are 2 sales going on right now on the PS4.
There you go. So
it's just crazy how much sales they have.
So let me ask you, so back in the day, did you own originally any Star Wars games?
I did.
Okay.
Actually, you know what's funny? I've owned several Star Wars games. I'm just flipping through the list here of what's on PS4. But I have to say, the very first Star Wars game I ever encountered was, at least for home console. I think we should take a quick moment to point out that the Star Wars game, the arcade game from 1983.
Oh yeah,
was a phenomenal arcade game.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I remember playing that in the arcade, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. And at that point, as a kid, I knew nothing Star Wars because I didn't see the movies. I just saw this as like a really cool fighting game, space fighting game. It was just very well done, and obviously, it's one of the most iconic arcade games, I think, for our generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the films. So much so that Arcade 1-Up recreated a version of the game that you can take home, which is amazing. So I just want to call that out. Obviously, I didn't own that because it was an arcade. But playing that game was fantastic.
Just real quick before we go away, I want to mention as well, since we mentioned it. Gorgeous vector graphics. At the time in the early 80s, vector graphics were all the rage as far as getting as close as some sort of realistic look to the game. I think I'm just trying to find something real quick. I am not going to find it. I had on GameCube, they had done I remember it was a pre-order bonus disc for, it's going to bug me where that is now.
Rogue Leader?
I think it was Rogue Leader, and it came with Star Wars Arcade, I think.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh man,
that would definitely be one to get your hands on if you can. If not, but you can actually, like I said, if you go to Arcade 1-Up, if it's still available, you can buy the actual arcade for your home.
Oh, it should be definitely still available, hopefully. The vector graphics were gorgeous. And then funny, in the arcade, the next game to come out was Return of the Jedi. Was the second game to come out, which is completely different. It was like a 3/4 look through as just a speeder bike.
I remember playing that.
I never played that.
It was ugly. I basically never got through the first level.
No. And then
my quarters.
And then the third arcade game was Empire Strikes Back, which is basically a conversion kit of the original Star Wars. And then it just played like Empire. So it's kind of weird how those came out in the arcades, but great arcade games. You're right.
True. And then let's just, before I go back to my games that I own, let's just sum up the arcade one, because the only other one that I remember playing in the arcade was in the late 90s when they came out with the Star Wars Trilogy arcade.
Yes.
And you got to choose between Star Wars Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. I have to say, one of my favorite arcade games of all time.
No, that maybe that's the one I'm thinking of then more. No, the one for the GameCube.
If it was, then, and I didn't know about it, then that's a shame, because I would love to own that. I put so many quarters into that Star Wars game. I just absolutely loved playing that game. And each film had a different style of gameplay.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
So
it really
was just absolutely amazing. If you've never seen the original Star Wars or the Star Wars Trilogy arcade that came out in the late 90s, see if you can find a video on YouTube or something like that. It is fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so going back to what games originally did you have?
Okay, so the very, very first one that I remember owning was actually the Empire Strikes Back on my Atari 2600.
Ooh,
in fact, I still have a copy of it.
Wow. Okay.
I can safely say I did not get very far in it, and I actually remember the first screen was you're in your X-wing, and you have to take down those giant
AT-ATs.
AT-ATs, thank you. Now, do you say AT-AT or is it AT-AT? Because when I used to look at it, I would always say AT-AT because...
I've heard people say AT-ATs, so...
Yeah, I mean, they're AT-ATs, but then the smaller ones were like the AT-STs, right? You wouldn't call that the ATST. So I always thought you had to say the letters.
I mean, is this a situation like, NES and that other word? So
SNES, yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, so I just remember the beginning of the screen, obviously because it's the Atari 2600, very, very basic. And you're the little X-wing, and you're trying to take down the AT-ATs or AT-ATs, whatever it is. I don't remember ever getting past that.
No, it was definitely tough, and it played like it kind of played like what, Chopper Command, I think the game was on
Chopper Command or Defender. It was like a side
any of those type. Yeah. It was a side scrolling, but you're able to go back and forth, and it kind of looped itself and stuff.
You were able to turn around and go back and forth.
Exactly.
Because obviously, I would assume to beat the AT-ATs is you had to put the cable around the leg in the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
What do I know? At that point, I was like 6. But anyway, that was the very, very first one I remember owning.
Okay.
NES completely skipped.
Yeah, me too.
Super Nintendo also completely skipped, so I didn't have any of the Super games. While I was looking up stuff on the episode, I was trying to find out if any games were released on the Genesis, but I don't think so. I think this was exclusive to Nintendo at the time. Am I correct?
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, because I was trying to find information that showed any games whatsoever on the Genesis, but no. There was one on the Dreamcast, or there were a couple on the Dreamcast, which I'll talk about, but Sega did not have the rights to the original Star Wars trilogy for the Genesis, which I think was kind of surprising. Actually, you know what? I'm wrong. Now that I'm looking it up. Well, again, this is kind of funny. The original Star Wars game was available on the Sega Master System, and they made a version on the Game Gear, but the Sega Genesis specifically did not have it.
That's interesting. Yeah, that must have been some sort of...
I'm assuming they signed an exclusive thing with Nintendo for the major console.
Possible.
Yeah, which is entirely possible. But anyway, so skipping over the Super Nintendo, the first game that I ever remember owning Star Wars wise outside. I am completely wrong.
Oh,
the game after my Atari that I remember, I actually have it sitting right here.
Oh,
and I played this ad nauseum because, yes, as a child and teenager, I was a total nerd. Not that has stopped, but I was a complete nerd with the glasses and all that stuff and that. And it's funny, on the Sega CD, I owned Star Wars Chess, which I have right now.
Was that original? Is that an original?
This is the original Star Wars Chess.
No, I meant, is that your original?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, because remember, we went through the whole Funko Land trading.
Okay, fair enough.
No, this is actually one that I picked up. Larry, actually, you know what?
I think you picked it up when I was there.
I bought this when you were in LA 2 years ago.
Folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, this is a recurring situation. Anthony keeps the receipts. I mean, he's got receipts from the 90s in the games. Yes.
I open games and I'm like, oh, look, the receipt from 28 years ago is in here.
Phenomenal.
So anyway, here's the,
nice copy.
Yeah, it's a great copy. So I bought it when you were in town. But what I loved about this game was, again, you're just playing chess. That's what it is. And obviously you have a choice to be the Rebel Alliance or the Empire.
I wasn't going to help you on that one.
I think I got that right.
Yeah, you did.
So you choose which side you want to be on, and then it's just a chess set. So it's like Luke and Leia are the king and queen, so on and so forth. Everything. But what happens is whenever you take a piece off of the board, it goes into an animation of the two characters battling briefly, but one of them winning. And if I remember correctly, the battles actually varied. Like each one had 2 or 3 different.
Yeah, they would do
sometimes it could change.
Exactly, and some of the deaths were a little rough.
Yeah, like if you look on the back of the game, there's an image of Boba Fett incinerating Chewbacca.
Exactly.
Into nothing. And then you also have the Emperor destroying Luke with lightning.
Electric. At least that's from the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Because on the Empire side, the Emperor was king and Darth Vader was queen.
Yes, Darth Vader was queen. Yes.
So that was actually after Empire Strikes Back on Atari 2600. This was the first one I had.
Okay.
And then later on down the line.
Hold on, real quick. So, and this, I'm just pulling the curtain back a little bit. So before we started recording, me and Ant were preparing, and admittedly, we got a lot of the information from Wikipedia when we were looking up the list. I mentioned to Anthony, Ant, there's one game on that list on Wikipedia of all the Star Wars games that was not in the list.
Yeah.
That game was Star Wars Chess.
No, that's not true. It's in the list.
I did not see it in the list.
I ran into it as I was scrolling down.
Where'd you see it?
It made me run into the other room to grab it.
Oh, wait. You
go down. You have to scroll down to standalone titles.
Okay, you're looking at a different list than I am then.
Oh, okay.
Okay, never mind then.
But somewhere down here. Oh, table games. Star Wars Chess.
No, you're looking at a completely different. I'm looking at, like at the bottom of a Wikipedia, they like a little list.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm looking at a full list of Star Wars.
I gotcha. Never mind then. Okay.
So this game, Star Wars Chess, came out on Sega CD, Windows, and DOS. And then there was apparently on Windows in '97 a Monopoly Star Wars, which I didn't know.
Ooh, that's interesting.
But that was just there on the list. But yeah, so I mean, it was just a standard chess game.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah. You either loved it or hated it.
Yeah, exactly. And I played chess a lot growing up.
You did. So, I did too, actually. Oh, I'm kidding. I did too.
So I really enjoyed this. The other game on Sega CD, I did not originally own this, and I haven't played this one yet because I just haven't had a chance. But I did buy it. Was Star Wars Rebel Assault?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And it's a really great copy too. And again, it plays like you have your X-wing fighting and stuff like that. So I don't know if you can see that.
No, you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's But again, for Sega CD, the graphics were really the graphics look really cool. 3D modeling, 15 levels. CD. See, this was the cool thing about it. CD quality soundtrack by John Williams, who actually got the actual music.
That's pretty cool.
The Sega CD games, which is really cool.
Could you throw that into your CD and play the music? I wonder.
That's a very good question. I've never tried that with Sega CD.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah, PlayStation used
PlayStation definitely, yeah.
So those were so Star Wars Chess was the one I had growing up. After that, there was a really awesome game, and I feel like it's funny because the most Star Wars games I owned were on the N64 because on the N64, I think they just came out with really cool games. And the first one that they came out with,
also just real quick, you got a lot of games, Star Wars games in N64 because that's when Episode 1 came out.
Yeah, Episode 1 came out. Everybody hated it. And I remember,
No, you're right. You're right.
Everybody hated it. What's funny for me, though, is because I wasn't that. At that point, I was maybe 2 or 3 years into having just watched the Star Wars films for the first time. So when I saw Episode 1, I'm like, oh, this isn't bad. This is okay. And then I hear everybody ripping it. And I'm like, wait, what's wrong? And they're going into all this canon and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, this is terrible. They screwed all this stuff up. I'm like, oh, I don't know any of this stuff. Okay.
Yep.
But anyway, but before, I want to say this was before because the movie came out in, I think, 98 or 99.
Around there, give or take.
Around 98. Right. This game came out in 96, so this was early in the N64 run, and I never finished it. But let me tell you something. Star Wars Shadow of the Empire.
Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Fantastic game. And I was fortunate enough to come across this somewhere where I managed to get it in box with the instructional booklet.
Even better.
Yep, and a very nice, clean copy of the game.
Nice. Oh, wow, that is clean.
Yeah. So the only thing that's missing is how the whatever goes in the box to hold the game in place.
Oh, the foam.
Yeah, the foam or whatever. But anyway, so Star Wars Shadow of the Empire was probably the first third. This was like a really true 64-bit graphic third person style adventure on the N64, and it was fantastic.
You know what's funny? When I was, again, and I haven't played Shadow in a long time, Shadow's long gone for me, unfortunately, but it has been or is, I don't know if it's available right now, or probably not. It's probably done in 30 seconds. But there is a certain crappy website that you could have pre-ordered it from as they were
Run Games had it.
Remaking it, kind of like in the vein of these with the blister packs and everything. So if you couldn't get it, then not their fault. But in any event, Shadow of the Empire to me was, I think, And my memory, if it serves me correctly, which I'm sure it won't, was probably the first Star Wars game I ever purchased for home console. Okay. Yeah, so it took me a while. But Shadow of the Empire was phenomenal. I could have sworn it was a first-person game, but looking into it, third person.
It was all third person. Yep. 10 action-packed levels. Mm-hmm. You got to fly the land speeder. You got to now, if I remember correctly, this was also this was the first game to my knowledge, where you were playing a character outside of the standards.
Correct. You're not playing Luke, Han, Chewie. You're right. It's a third, a separate player, but within the Star Wars universe, like within those movies.
Right. This is one of the things where it's like where you're talking about canon. Mm-hmm. Let me read the back really quickly, so you understand what it's about. Or if you remember, as Luke Skywalker and the Rebel Alliance struggle to defeat Darth Vader and the Empire, a new threat arises. Dark Prince Xizor, head of the Black Sun crime syndicate, aspires to take Darth Vader's place at the Emperor's side. To do that, he must eliminate young Skywalker. As Dash Rendar, that's your character, it's up to you to protect Luke and help the Alliance defeat the evil Xizor. Watch out for infamous bounty hunters and deadly stormtroopers. May the Force be with you.
Yes. The game in the lore, because later, not until we start to get later games where the games themselves start to become canon and start to become part of the universe. This game takes place between Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, and they put that on the back, actually. Yeah. Storyline is set between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
So they specifically
so what's really cool about this is that this is the first video game that actually, that really
probably
like that.
You're right, because everyone before them was based on the movies.
Well, yeah, because you wanted to be these characters. But now we're talking about a game that's fully removed from everything. Not fully removed. It's still in the same story, but you're that there. It kind of reminds me of there was a game on Xbox and PS2 for Lord of the Rings called The Third Age.
Okay.
Where you were still playing through Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King. However, you were the team that was basically running behind the Fellowship. Oh. So there was another group that was basically backing them up. It's just that they were behind. So they were behind a decent amount so that they never came into contact with each other.
So how does that game work? All right, let's go to the first level. No, we're good. All right, let's go on to the second level.
No.
No, that guy's still alive.
No, you're basically the way they actually set it up pretty well, because what you wind up doing is you're still in the same battles that the main Fellowship are getting into. Mm-hmm. So all the battles that you remember, Helm's Deep, and all of those, like they're all still happening, but you're just not with the main group. You're just another part of the army somewhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of like like Rogue One.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rogue One. So, it would be interesting to see if Shadows of the Empire winds up becoming a Disney movie, because
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love to do something in between. Some of the other films, the way that Rogue One branched 3 and 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Rogue One
this would be 5.5, I guess.
Something like that, yeah. Because Rogue One is basically Episode 4's story crawl. That's all it really is. This game I remember picking up. I fell in love with this game so quickly. No, I never beat it, but I definitely...
I didn't either.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's only got 10 levels.
No, I know. But the levels were difficult. That Hoth level was tough.
Yeah. Any level on Hoth is tough.
Yeah. Hoth. They should have called it Kulf. So this game basically had mixed reactions. Shockingly enough, as much as we both love this game, the reviewers kind of soared down the middle. I mean, here, just some EGM gave it what a weird score. 7.875 out of 10. How the hell did you get that?
I'm sure they averaged a bunch of
that
stuff.
Was weird. GameSpot gave the N64 version 7.1 out of 10. IGN 6.5 out of 10. Nintendo Life 6 out of 10. And Game Revolution gave it a C+. So review-wise, said it was kind of average. But again, I feel like, it's kind of like the like on a Rotten Tomatoes score, you get the critics and you get the viewers, and the viewers' score is usually higher than the critics' score because they tend to love it more. I think that's the situation here.
It was interesting, but again, you also have to remember it's who plays it that enjoys it.
Of course,
you know what I mean.
Of course,
and even a 7.8 is pretty good.
Oh no, that's not bad. That's what I'm saying. Kind of ran the gambit. Yeah. Now this game won a couple of EGM 1996 was runner up for Game of the Year behind Super Mario 64, and was runner up for best music on the N64. Came in right behind Wipeout XL. Granted, there were
Wipeout XL had a great.
There were only 8 N64 games at the time, but still, no, the music, with all these games so far, and even to today, the recurring theme as far as what stays consistent, because the gameplay is up and down, graphics can be up and down, but the music always seems to be on key. No pun intended.
Yeah, because I think that they went out of their way to make sure that they kept the John Williams style, if not even having John Williams do the scores for the games. I'm not sure about this one, of course.
Probably later on. They just pulled it at some point.
Yeah, but I mean, because I mean, the one thing about Star Wars is the music is so
iconic.
Recognizable. Yeah. It's so iconic. So you're going to want to keep that consistency.
Yeah.
And it just makes total sense that they would do that.
Sticking with the N64, and Ant, I remember you definitely had this game because we played it a lot, actually, at your house back in the day. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
You mean this one?
Let me go back to the thing. Yes, that one, exactly.
Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which I still own.
Good for you. Great game. Great racer game. I mean, it was really just based on one part of the movie, but it was fantastic.
But still, it's just a racing game. I mean, I have to say, N64, when I look back on this, when I look back on all the consoles, N64 wound up becoming my go-to racing console.
I believe you. I think it's because of the controller.
Well, I think the controller was very helpful, but it was also the games, because we're talking about Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Mario Kart 64, F-Zero, right?
F-Zero X.
Was there an F-Zero X? And then there was what's the other one I'm thinking? Well, Wipeout XL.
That one I never played.
And then there was another race.
There was a few others. There's a bunch of others.
There were a bunch.
Diddy Kong Racing.
Wave Race 64, which I played.
Oh God, I hate that.
I love Wave Racing.
That and Pilot Wings 64, I hated.
Oh, Pilot Wings was a pain in the butt, but Wave Race, loved Wave Race. It's great. But yeah, Episode 1 Racer we used to play all the time because again, it's just a pick-up racing game. It was just really fun to play through it, and it was cool to hit other people and sabotage them as you're going through it and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
This game, I didn't realize this game was probably ported more times than one would have imagined. This game came out on Windows in 1999, N64 in 99, Game Boy Color in 99, which the Game Boy Color version had a rumble feature on it. Macintosh late 99, Dreamcast 2000. This was actually the first LucasArts game to appear on the Dreamcast. Wow. And it took a little while. Dreamcast came out in September of 99. This came out in April of 2000.
Yeah.
And actually, just to let you know, for those interested, May 12th, 2020, the game will be re-released on the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch. And if you want a terrible, crappy physical copy, I do believe there may be a physical version coming out as well from some garbage company. So that may have already come out. Actually, I think it came out last October. So yeah, you can kiss that one goodbye. But PS4, Nintendo Switch, you'll be able to get your hands on them. Do you remember the code or the unlockable feature in this game?
No, that I don't.
For the N64 specifically.
Definitely do not.
So in Pod Racer, if for those who remember, there were two separate engines, basically. That like once they powered up and you got like that weird power grid in between and then they go. And in the N64, I don't know if it was available in other versions, but the N64 version, there was either a code or an unlockable situation where you can actually use two controllers to control one pod racer.
Oh, that's right.
Each analog stick would control one of the engines, and it gave you more accuracy because in the movie and in the Racer arcade machine, there were two levers that you would speed up, slow down, and they were individual. So that I thought was always a cool feature.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yep.
Completely forgot.
I always remember that. I always thought that feature was sweet. So, another great game on the N64. That one I never owned because I basically played it at your house.
Yeah, that was still at a time where, you would go to people's houses to play games together. So.
Yes, when we were allowed to go out.
Yeah. So
meanwhile, there was something major going on outside my house.
I was in college at the time. So, but also, I mean, games like that. There were so many multiplayer games we did play, so only one person really needed to own it.
Oh yeah, of course. So you're showing some games off your collection. I'm showing.
Wait, I'm not.
What?
Wait.
You have another one on N64?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize. So that's why, we'll get to yours.
I didn't even know there was another one on N64.
There is another one on N64. How dare you not know this one? Because this is probably one of the best Star Wars games I remember playing. And again, mostly the sequel to it.
Okay.
This was the original Rogue Squadron.
I forgot about that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Absolutely phenomenal. This is not my original, of course. Somebody wrote on it.
How dare they?
Because I would never.
Was it your sister?
I would never do this. Because the one thing about N64 games, if everybody remember, whoever owns them or didn't own them, is when you would put them away and pile them and stack them or whatever. If you didn't keep the boxes, you would stack them like this, sideways, or you would stack them like this, and there's no way to know which game it is. There were no labels on these damn things.
That can be fixed now. CustomGameCases.com. Oh, I just got two more too.
Which reminds me, custom game cases. These are the first game cases I'm buying so that I can see the damn names on them.
Little side note, unrelated to Star Wars, I got these two in the mail.
Oh, very nice.
Aladdin and Cool Spot. So
beautiful.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you just reminded me. I actually think I'm going to go place an order for some
awesome.
N64 boxes.
Good stuff. I completely forgot about this game. I don't think I remember really playing it. Your game actually came out before Pod Racer, so
yeah, it did.
It came out in '98.
Came out in '98. It was really, really cool. And obviously, it gave way to the one that I really remember playing, which was the sequel on the GameCube, which was Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2.
Yes, that one was really good. There.
Yes.
Nice, right there.
Yeah,
maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
And this may be, if I'm not mistaken, this might be my original. No, it's not.
There's no receipt in it, so how do you know?
No. Yeah, if there's no receipt, it's not mine. And it's funny. I never got Rogue Squadron 3 because I remember playing. This is a Tomb Raider syndrome for me. I got to a certain point in Rogue Leader where I couldn't get past it no matter what I did. So I wound up I didn't finish it. I stopped playing it, and then I never went on to the next one. I never bought the next one because I was like, I can't finish this one.
There you go.
That happened again. It's just a thing with me. I have such a completionist mind that I must finish the game before.
With Rogue Squadron, there were 3 unlockable secrets, a couple of bonus levels here. First of all, there was, you should go back and try and unlock these, because you can unlock them via passwords or passcodes. Because what happens is these 3 are bonus levels, adaptations of events from the films. Beggar's Canyon, which is a reenactment of the race mentioned in A New Hope. That's pretty cool. The Death Star Trench Run, an alternate version of the climactic battle scene from A New Hope.
Okay, sounds like I do need to go back.
Yeah, and Battle of Hoth bonus level, where you can join the Rebel Alliance combat against Imperial troops, as depicted in Empire Strikes Back. And not only that, real quick, so this game comes out about 6 months maybe or so before Star Wars Episode 1 hits the theater, before we know how much of a goose egg it is. And what happens is...
It made a lot of money.
It did. Oh, of course it did. What happened, Lucasfilm actually gave the developers of Rogue Squadron the design art for the Naboo starfighter, which was featured in the film. And so they tucked it away in the game. And I don't know if it's at the time, but it took more than 6 months and no one found it. So LucasArts just finally unveiled a code to unlock the Naboo starfighter. And the code has been named the N64's most well-hidden code because of the length of time before its discovery.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, they apparently they hid it so well that nobody could find it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly. And, and you know what? And here, I'm quoting Wikipedia. A complex scrambling system was also developed to help hide the ship's code from gamers using cheat cartridges, such as the game Shark or Action Replay. That's interesting.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So they did too good of a job.
Absolutely.
That's really what that means.
All right, yeah, so if you do pop that in, let us know if you do unlock those 3 bonus levels.
I will probably make a point to do that now, just so I can do it specifically for the Star Wars, the trench run on the.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
that's just I mean, everybody wants to play that kind of level.
All right. Any more on N64 before I jump ahead?
No. Because I know that was it on N64, and actually that was it on GameCube as well.
Look to get ready to wrap this up here shortly. So these are my these are my PlayStation games, and they all happen to be on the same page, thankfully. So I still have these games. So these 3 games actually. There's 4, but there's 2 discs here. So we got Dark Forces, Jedi Power Battles, and Rebel Assault 2.
Oh, Rebel Assault 2. I know everybody. I never played it, but I know people think highly of Rebel Assault 2. I have the first one, the Sega CD one, because Rebel Assault came out on Sega CD, DOS, Mac, and 3DO.
DOS, 3DO. Good lord.
3DO. Yeah.
Took 12 minutes just to load, probably.
Probably.
I played, of those 3 games, I definitely played Rebel Assault 2 the most. Again, never completed it, but definitely played it a lot. And one of those, I remember I mentioned before, I forgot which one, but I think I got it wrong. Remember I was saying, like, one of my Star Wars games, I just couldn't get to work in the PS2 for some reason?
Yep.
It was either Dark Forces or Rebel Assault 2. I'm going to go back and check, because I got my PS2 hooked up. I'm just going to try and figure it out out of curiosity. Really nothing to mention of those, because it's been for so long since I played those. But for me, the last game to mention as far as what I've owned, because I don't think I've really bought Star Wars games since really this one, on the original Xbox. But this game is great. It's backwards compatible on the Xbox One, so you can currently purchase it, like for download, or if you have the disc, just pop it in. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh, yeah. You know, I never played that, and everybody talks about how good that game is.
Fantastic game. This is the first of 3 games. The third game is actually, and I think it's still going on today, an MMORPG that people are still playing, akin to, like, you know, World of Warcraft and stuff like that. This game, it's kind of it's a hybrid turn-based strategy, almost like a tactics game. Mm-hmm. Not like with the look of a tactics game, but, you know, that turn-based with... I guess, I don't know the official term for it, but like with dialogue decision that steers the game. We've talked about those recently. And what's great is with the dialogue and the gameplay, the choices you make, of course, dictate the outcome of the game, but also dictates whether you end up on the light side of the Force or the dark side of the Force.
Oh, that's cool.
And as you go on, if the choices you make lead you towards the dark side, your physical appearance changes throughout the game. Ooh. Where you become more kind of like what happens with Emperor Palpatine in Clone Wars, I want to say, where he just becomes pale and his eyes become yellow. Your character becomes pale and your eyes start to turn yellow.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then there's a huge twist at the end, which I've heard. I've never looked it up. I've never gotten to it. But I really, after this week, I really feel like I want to pop this in and start playing it.
Well, it's a perfect week to do it because it's, you know, May the 4th.
That is true. KOTOR. So I highly recommend this. And again, if you don't have it, you can pick it up. You can download it on Xbox One. So definitely well worth it. Oh, yes. And a point to be made, this is like one of the first games I know of where the game itself became a whole series unto itself in the canon of Star Wars. Yep. This game takes place 3,000 years before Episode 1. So,
crazy.
Oh yeah. So it is, there's no really indication of that, but it's definitely in the lore. They've created characters like in later on, you know, officially licensed, I should say, in the world of Star Wars. So, you know, and it's referred back every now and again too. So this is like the first game I know of that really made its own stance in the world of Star Wars.
Well, and it makes and it just expands the universe that much more.
Oh, absolutely.
You know that the Star Wars universe spans at least 3,000 years.
At least,
which is really cool. There were a couple other ones that I wanted to bring up, and they're more recent.
Okay.
We usually talk retro, but
that's
they're more
right.
recent. But there's one game that I do remember playing. I'm not sure if it was on my 360 or Or if it, yeah, well, no, it had to be on my 360. It was on the Xbox 360, and it was actually with a roommate of mine that I wound up playing through this. And it was the Lego Star Wars trilogy.
Oh yes, of course.
And I have to say, look, for as childlike as it is thinking about playing a Lego game, let me tell you something. The Lego games were awesome.
Yeah.
Specifically when the characters didn't talk.
That is true.
Yeah, when the characters started talking, I thought it's not that there's anything wrong with the characters actually speaking. It's just that the Lego games, when they first came out, were so clever in conveying the story through mime that I loved it. And Lego Star Wars Trilogy was one of the first ones I played with my roommate at the time. She had picked it up because she was a huge
GameCube.
Was a huge Star Wars fan. And we played through the trilogy, and we had a blast, and we laughed our way through the whole thing. It was great.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. It was when I first got it. I got it on GameCube, so I would consider that. GameCube, I would say, is getting there. It's retro. You're right. It was very childish, and we don't mean that in a bad way. Just, the difficulty level, there was no difficulty level, really. The first game may have had a game over, but one since then don't have a game over anymore. You just keep playing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, just the overall fun of it, the goofy, almost like a parody of itself, the way they did it with Legos. And just seeing Star Wars in different light, which, again, that ended up spawning their own Lego movies, their own Lego television show, their own Lego series. So it just leads to just more in the Star Wars universe. And then that was the original, I think, trilogy. Then they did the I don't know what it's called, the first trilogy, episodes 1 through 3.
First 3 movies.
And then they put all 6 of them into one, like, bonus disc.
Correct.
But never, I remember I bought that on a whim. And I was like, all right, let me just give this a shot. I fell in love with it. And that's what made me fall in love with the Lego games. And that helped just shoot off. I think if it wasn't for that first Star Wars games, we wouldn't have the Lego games that we have today.
It's possible. I'm trying to remember what if it was the actual first.
Well, they had other Lego games.
Yeah, because they had Lego Indiana Jones. Then they got into Lego Harry Potter, which, by the way, Lego Harry Potter was my favorite.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, they may have come out, but they may not have because of how popular this series was.
Right.
With the games.
No, I agree. I agree with you. And I'm sure there are, outside of that, I'm trying to think of, the Lego Star Wars games were great. Getting into more recent stuff, just really quickly, on PlayStation 4, I own Star Wars Battlefront.
Okay.
I don't really play. I haven't played much of it in terms of the online stuff and whatnot. I played a little bit with friends, but the coolest thing about the Star Wars Battlefront was when the Rogue One movie came out, they released, if you had Battlefront, a free download of the Rogue One mission in VR.
Ooh.
And so you put on the VR helmet, you get into your X-Wing, and then you're basically doing the final battle, the final space battle, at the end of Rogue One. But you're there. You know what I mean? Because you have the VR headset on. So you're actually there piloting your X-Wing. I got to say, it's one of the most enjoyable experiences I've ever had in VR.
All right. Fair enough.
Absolutely great. And then, of course, the latest game to come out from the Star Wars universe, which I have but haven't opened yet, is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, you picked that up?
Yes, I did.
Well, clearly, unless you stole it.
A friend of mine who has connections got me a copy.
Wait a minute now. How am I not hearing about this for the first time?
None of your business.
All right.
So again, from my understanding, everybody who's played this said it's awesome. It's got great reviews. I obviously have not even opened it yet because I'm busy playing 20 other games. But this is the latest in the Star Wars universe in terms of video games. It's Jedi Fallen.
Is that like a special sticker there on the side?
The special sticker that says, a purchased product from the EA experience. Reselling this game is strictly prohibited.
So you can't open that game. You have to buy it again separately to be able to play it.
No. I'm allowed to open it and play it. I am not allowed to resell it.
No. But that sticker has to stay intact.
No, it does not.
What's the matter with you? Where is the collector inside of you, for God's sakes?
The collector inside of me keeps his receipts.
And there is no receipt for that. So there you go.
Of course not. It was given.
Fair enough. All right, and of course there are a multitude of other Star Wars games that we obviously
we didn't touch on all the Battlefronts,
still.
Force Unleashed, the Clone Wars ones, Starfighter. I'm just looking through a list. Like all these games that I actually do know. The TIE Fighter game. Star Wars TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance. There have been so many games we couldn't really go through.
No, we never will.
So I'm actually surprised with how many we've actually experienced on our own.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we had a good amount. So
we had a good handful.
And I'm going to see myself putting this game in Knights of the Old Republic. Give that a whirl again. All right. So thank you very much for our fans. I got to say, definitely helping us out here. This is the, like I said, second or third suggested episode that we've had.
Yep.
Some maniac helped us with the first one, and then, as we can see, a great listener and now friend of the show.
Yep, Eliezer, thank you very much for the topic suggestion. I actually really enjoyed going through it, and it makes me want to go back and play some of my Star Wars games now.
Absolutely. All right. One more time, folks. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Watch us on YouTube as well, at Retro Gamers Podcast, Twitter, at Retro Gamers Pod. Of course, the email.
You can email us at email@theretrogamers.com. And if you want to make suggestions for an episode for us, shoot us a message on Facebook or any of the other ways that you can.
Yeah, this was fun. It really, like I said, it kind of forced us to play something else. And
Unleashed.
Bazinga. And, really made us kind of remember some of the good times again of a series that we don't really think about that often. So.
Yeah, no, it's really true. You kind of gave us a new hope in video games.
All right, we're done. And folks, with that, we'll catch you right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.